Has it ever occurred to you that maybe you don't have to earn God's love? Do you know what it means to just allow Him to love you and to open your heart to Him? Maybe you've never heard this before. Stay tuned. Welcome to God Answers Prayer. I'm Linda Tiano, your host today, and let's go to the book of 2 Corinthians 5, chapter 5, verse 21. For Yahweh made the only one who did not know sin to become sin for us, so that we might become the righteousness of Yahweh through our union with Him. Laura has a heart for those on the margins and believes in the importance of discipleship. She shares her story today. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back. I'm here with Laura Jenkins. She's with the Navigators. Yes. You're the Juntos Director.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, welcome to God Answers Prayer.
Well, thank you.
So what is Juntos?
So Juntos is a youth leadership program that we started back in 2005. We focus on youth from the International District.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your life and growing up and what led you down this path.
Okay. Well, I was born in Los Alamos, grew up there in White Rock. My parents got married super young at 19, and my dad was not following the Lord, and my mom wasn't a believer yet. But after they'd been married for a little while, my mom thought, well, I guess normal people go to church. So she started going to church, came to Christ, and they were in California at that time and got discipled by some wonderful, wonderful people. So by the time my brothers and I rolled around, they were already following the Lord. So not only did we, grow up in church, but my parents were actively discipling people, sharing Christ with our neighbors. I've run into people since my mom's death who've said that she led them to the Lord. I had no idea. Oh, backyard Bible club in our house, in our garage. So all of those things.
How special.
So, yeah, it really was. Yeah, so grew up not just doing the church thing, but seeing how Christ can really transform whole lives.
Yeah.
So, and then, they really encouraged us to get outside of our little bubble. In Los Alamos, you can live in a bubble.
Right.
But their heart was for the world and for the nations. So even as a child, they had some friends that were pastors out on the reservation. So we would go weekends to the reservation, and the first VBS I remember was sitting in a hogan with the chickens singing songs in Navajo, the one little white face. And so I think God just put on my heart the nations and people on the margins from a really early age.
Wow.
And then I was able to do some mission trips in high school and college that just kind of confirmed that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then in college is when you, like you said, it confirmed.
Yeah.
You wanted to move beyond your normal place of an understanding, maybe.
Yeah. I think I went to school in Canada my first 2 years to a Christian school with the idea of doing missions, and at that point my freshman year kind of had an encounter with somebody that made me stop and question, am I doing this because this is my parents' faith, my family's faith, or is this truly my own? And God just made it really clear to me that this is between you and me.
Yeah, but that's a good question, because too many times people don't really own that,
Right, 100%.
And they branch out, and it's not a good experience for them. So that kind of models how they tend to go off. And maybe it takes them longer to get around to what God's really called them to.
Yeah, I
So
think
that was a wise.
Yeah, it was a gift from him for sure
Yeah.
to do that early on in my
Beautiful.
life. So after that, I switched schools, thinking that I was going to do agricultural missions. So went to Texas A&M and got a degree in soil science, which I have never used.
Well, there's still time.
Yeah, I have a garden.
So tell me what you mean when you say the idea of Jesus' upside down kingdom.
Yeah, I think, you think about how when Jesus came and he surprised everybody, the religious leaders didn't know what to do with him. Even his disciples weren't quite sure what to do with him. We just passed Palm Sunday, and you think about the people wanted him to come as this conquering king. And he just did everything different than how people expected. And he went to the people on the margins. Like, I think about his first miracle of turning the water to wine. The only people that probably saw that happen were the servants who were filling the vats with water, right? And, he went to Zacchaeus. He went to women of ill repute.
Right.
He didn't do the things that we expected him to do.
Yeah.
And I think he still works that way with people on the margins.
I think that's an interesting way of looking at things, especially in the day that we live with, discussion of kings and this, that, and the other, because he is the King of Kings. He's the only king.
Yeah.
And he's full of love. And he cares about every person.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah.
The value and dignity of everybody.
So you realized at some point you didn't have to earn his love.
Yeah. Yeah, I think nobody who's a follower of Jesus says, I have to earn his love if we understand the gospel, right? But I think we can slowly start falling back into that, where we start thinking we have to produce something.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Paul reminds us so often in the Bible, it's not by works. And what gospel are you following now that you're trying to, please men or earn your salvation? And so, the Lord just reminds me constantly that the only righteousness I have is the righteousness of Jesus. And he also reminds me that he loves me doing whatever I'm doing just as much as he loves somebody who's not able to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Right? Simply because we're made in his image and bear his likeness.
Yeah. I think some of that comes from probably, being schooled and then getting a job, and we feel like we have to earn our way up, and it's hard to split that off.
Right, because that's our culture, right? Is you have to earn everything, earn friendships, earn relationships, all those things. And I think that's one of the stumbling blocks for people.
Yeah.
Is understanding, is this really a free gift? Like, surely there's a catch, right?
Yeah, and he loves us unconditionally.
Yeah.
So your mission in life now, you are involved with the Navigators. How did you get involved there?
Okay, I'll make it the short version. During my time in Canada, I had been exposed to the idea of urban missions through a man named Ray Bakke, who's kind of the father of urban missions. And he talked about how important it was to reach the city, because culture is made in the city and nations come to cities. So I started kind of thinking about urban ministry. And then in 1998, my mom had just passed away, and so I was looking, for something that I could do to kind of work through that. And I ended up working with a ministry in California called City Team. And they're working with, immigrants, low-income people on the fringes. And I told them, I want to work with women, no kids. Well, I ended up teaching summer school to immigrant kids. And I just fell in love with it and was planning to go back in 1999 when I ran into a couple here in Albuquerque, Bob and Claudia Adame, who were working with urban kids here who, were immigrants and refugees, gang affiliated, different things like that. And so they said, well, would you come spend the summer with us instead? And I said, absolutely not, but I'll pray about it. So I prayed about it, and I ended up in Albuquerque and just fell in love with these kids and the ministry that they were doing. And they happened to work for the Navigators. So when I graduated college, I came back to work with them. So it was just implied that I go on staff with the Navigators. And then I just realized going through their staff training, that all the promises God had given that organization were also all the promises He had given me. And so it worked out really well.
Yeah.
So it's been 25 years with the Navigators.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't look old enough to be doing that.
Well, thank you.
25
I
years.
appreciate that.
But so Navigators, how did they get started?
So the Navigators got started, oh gosh, you're going to test my knowledge, in the 1940s by a man named Dawson Trotman, who really saw the value in one-on-one discipleship, really investing in one person so that they could invest in the next generation. And he started with military men right before World War II and during that time. And then after that, a lot of those men went then, overseas onto college campuses into the workplace. And so that's been the tagline. Most people are probably familiar with it and don't know it's from the Navigators, but it's to know Christ, to make Him known, and to help others do the same. And so that's what we do, just in a different context, where we disciple young people, help them learn the tools where they could go ahead and disciple the next generation of young people.
So navigator, that word, what does that mean to you?
I think it means somebody who will just walk alongside somebody else and help lead them the way. We always say you only have to be one step ahead of somebody to help them grow in their relationship with the Lord.
That's great. Yeah. Because I've often wondered, how they came up with that name.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's from the military men that they worked with
But what
initially.
you said, it makes a lot of sense, even from a military sense. So beautiful. So you continued with the Navigators then here. That was while you were still in college, or you had finished?
Yeah, I went on staff after I graduated, so I went on staff in the beginning of 2000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I continued working with Bob and Claudia, working with kids in the North Valley, but some of them were connected to kids over in the International District. So I started hanging out over there a lot and just kind of fell in love with that neighborhood. And so when my husband and I got married in 2004, we moved into that neighborhood and have been there since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're still there.
We are, yep. Our kids have graduated from Highland High School, and now I'm an empty nester for the first time. So yes, I'm adjusting. I'm still adjusting.
Yeah, a lot of people have been called to that area.
Yeah, and I was just talking with somebody about this recently. When we first started in 2000, people were kind of coming and going. Nobody was really setting down roots. But in the last probably 10 years, I would say, you're seeing different ministries and people come in and they're staying. And so it's an exciting thing. There's a lot of people there.
Tell us about the International District. To people that may not be aware of it or what it is.
Okay. Well, it's an area along Central and Albuquerque to the north and the south that's just kind of the city's designation for it, right? But it's called the International District because I think it must have been the 70s, a lot of people from the Vietnam refugees came into that part of the city. So there were a lot of Vietnamese and Chinese families, and then over the years more immigrants and refugees came, and because it's cheaper housing, they were placed there.
Right.
And so at one point Highland High School had, I don't remember how many languages, but it had more languages than any other school in the state. I don't think that's true anymore, but so just a huge variety of people from all over the world live there.
Yeah. And so it's not necessarily a neighborhood that's housing the homeless per se. These are people that are more productive, I guess you would say, in their...
Well, and I think often when people think of the International District, they think of homelessness because it's the thing you see when you drive up and down Central.
Yeah.
What you don't see are all the apartments full of families, full of kids who are going to the schools in the neighborhood, full of parents who are just trying to, get a good job and make it through, or full of people who are recent immigrants and refugees and they're just transitioning to another spot. When we first started Juntos in 2005, we had a lot of kids from West Africa. And over the years, they were able to locate families. They had been split up in refugee camps. So they would move throughout the United States to wherever their family was. So it was a temporary landing spot for a lot of them.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. Just to think about all of this transitioning
Yeah.
and being a part of it, and being, those loving arms that will hug them, and
Yeah.
because it must be for them a very difficult time to make those adjustments into a new country and new languages, and
Yeah, I think so. And not only, and then there's also families there that have been in generational poverty for many years. So it's this amazing, beautiful mix of people. So it's a lot of fun to be involved with them.
So as you're listening today, we just want to stop for a moment and tell you about this wonderful gift of love that God gave and to the whole world. His name is Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Messiah. And if you don't know him, my prayer for you today is that the Father will draw you to him. And as he does that, that you will be absolutely undone. That you will say, I believe that you died for my sins. I believe you shed your blood for those sins. And I will, with your help, confess you before men. If you pray that, then you have the assurance, that God is with you and he's going to direct you all the days of your life. Give us a call. We've got prayer partners that will pray with you. The number's right there on the bottom of the screen. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back. I'm here with Laura Jenkins with the Navigators. And Laura, we were just talking about the International District, and you guys have made that into a permanent home. And you said your daughters have flown the nest.
Yes, they have flown the nest.
So
Flown the coop.
what are you doing now? And what is the activity, I guess you would say, that the Lord has called you to there in the International District?
Yeah. Well, I'm continuing on with Juntos. Juntos is a program that we started back in 2005, actually. And we called it Juntos, which means together, because there were 5 different neighborhoods and churches that started it initially. It started as a day camp. We thought, we're all working with kids. We knew each other. The kids, were overlapping in our programs. So we started with a day camp and had 100 kiddos show up. And then their parents said, what's next? And we didn't have a what's next plan, but so then we just started meeting weekly. And I ended up in charge of that meeting, and it fell under the Navigators as some of the other ministries shut down or people moved on. And so we still meet with kids weekly, kind of a Bible club kind of set up for elementary and middle school kids. And then we train high schoolers, like we were talking about earlier, in basic discipleship tools, and they lead the younger kids. And after 20 some years now, we have kids of kids, and they don't just leave us once they leave high school. So we've got all sorts of adults that help us out. So we continue to do programmatic things. Today we're taking kids hiking because it's spring break. We just, as much as possible, try to build deep relationships. Program is always just a vehicle for relationship, right? And we know that that's how Jesus works in lives, is through relationships. So really, our job is to love people and build relationships.
Now, is your husband is involved with you in this, or?
Actually, not so much. I was already on staff when we got married. He was teaching at the Catholic school in the neighborhood, taught there for 29 years, and then just this year made the transition up to Hope Christian School.
Oh, okay.
So my girls went to school in the neighborhood at the Catholic school, and then transitioned to Highland High School when they were in high school. And now one's at UNM and one's in Arizona. Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
So discipleship and sharing the gospel. How was that modeled? To you specifically in your home growing up?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned earlier, my parents just really loved people well. And I remember, our family would pray for the people that my dad worked with, and some of them came to Christ, and then they'd be in our home doing Bible studies. And ironically, they were all Navigator Bible studies that he was doing with them, And so I saw that early on. And then, throughout college, there were people that mentored me, but especially when I moved here and started working with the kids, there were others that invested in my life and helped me start thinking, how can I invest in these kids and young people and their families in ways that they can reproduce. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Right.
You know, so we just teach them, how do you pray with somebody? How do you memorize scripture with somebody? How do you read the Bible with somebody? You know, how do you explain the gospel? And so we just try to keep it simple.
Must be so much fun watching these young people and seeing the giftings that God has placed in them as they learn more and they're walking this walk more. So have some of them come back to help you?
Oh, yeah. So about half of our volunteers right now are alumni from the program. And that's the goal, right? Like, I will never have the kind of voice. My voice will never hold the weight in the neighborhood that theirs will from being in the neighborhood and growing up. So my job is just to give them a platform to use their talents, their gifts, and they are going to be the spiritual leaders in their community.
Right.
Yeah, so it's been really fun to see that. And it's also been heartbreaking in some ways. You know, kids that we've known and loved, I see them now on the street homeless. We've had some pass on. You know, so it's not all been easy because we're intentionally going for people on the margins, you know, because we feel like that was the model of Jesus.
Yeah. Just thinking about all of this is a lot to absorb, but it's like, how can people help you?
That's a great question. I think, you know, so many people have so many different types of gifts, and there's lots of ways to help. The first thing that popped into my mind, which I wasn't planning on saying, is just hang out in the international district and love it well. You know, I think some people hear that term and they stay far away. You know, and it's, you know, there are hard things that you see, but you've got to remember all the families that exist there, the kids that go to school there, the people that have made it their home, you know, and so I just encourage people, just spend time in the neighborhood, enjoy the restaurants. The best food is in the international district, you know, just enjoy it. As far as Juntos specifically, we have events, family events. We still do that day camp that we did in 2005. We're planning it for this year. You know, we always need volunteers for that. We do weekly meetings, which isn't for everybody because we do require a weekly commitment. We feel like so many of the kids and families have had people come and go that there's certain roles where we're like, you have to be 100% committed. We don't need to cause any more problems for these kids and families.
Well, that's good. Discipline.
We just started a one-on-one community-based mentoring program. So similar to like a big brother, big sister maybe, but with Christian mentors and our Juntos kids. So that's also a huge commitment because we ask people to meet with these kids weekly for at least a year. But we're always taking donations for, you know, food and prizes and all these for activities, and then of course financial donations through the navigators as well.
So if there's someone watching today and they're thinking, wow, this is what I feel called to do too, how do they do that? How do they get involved?
I think the best thing would be to reach out. We have a website. It's Juntos, Juntos, abq.com. And there's, you know, a place in there to send a message. I'm the one that gets all the emails. And then we just talk about, what do you love? What do you feel like God has called you to? And where might that intersect with Juntos? And if it doesn't intersect with Juntos, we know so many of the other partners that are sharing the gospel in the international district. You know, we can connect people with some of those other organizations as well.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of people that probably maybe look at that situation and they don't understand. They've been raised in a very different kind of an environment, and yet, to me, this is something that you embrace. I love differences, and I love languages, and you know, I love to meet people from all over. So, you know, and we learn from each other. But you know, we offer something here in the United States that they haven't had anywhere else, and it's a blessing for them. So, you know, instead of maybe being critical, try to see it through God's eyes.
Yeah. I think that's so key. The value and dignity of every person. Every person.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you came today.
Well, thank you.
And is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience about navigators or anything
Well,
else?
if you're interested in navigators in general, you can go to navigators.org, and they have a ton of really helpful resources on that website for how to disciple.
Yeah.
Like even if you're interested in, what does it mean to disciple somebody? How do I start a discipling relationship? What do I do first? There's tons of tools on that.
Great.
That are super helpful. So I think that would be important for people to be
discipleship
aware of.
is key, really, for people that, I mean, some people get saved and then it's like, where do I turn?
Right, exactly.
And so if they're given a course of action and study, and someone to walk alongside them and hold them accountable too, it's very important.
It is.
Well,
it is.
again, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
And for those of you viewing, we want to thank you for your support for KCHF TV 11 and let you know that if you have any kind of a need, call us. Don't let the enemy try to tell you that it doesn't matter, that you don't matter. You do matter. You matter to the Father, and you matter to us. And we've got prayer partners that live to pray. They love to pray for people, and they're lovely people. So give us a call. The number's right there on the bottom of the screen. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May He make His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May He lift up His countenance upon you and give you His everlasting peace. Shalom, shalom.
Thank you for joining us today on God Answers Prayer. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on our program, please contact us by visiting kchftv.org and click on Share Your Testimony. Our prayer partners are here to pray for your needs. Call us today at 505-345-4165. We appreciate your prayers and support. Join us again next time for more inspiring stories and testimonies. Remember, God is always listening, and He answers our prayers in His perfect timing.